Okay, so I'm going to teach you how to assess your own posture. Now if you do have someone who can help you, it'll make it easier for you, but alternatively work in front of a mirror or take photographs of yourself. That might help. Alright, so good posture. Go from your toes all the way to your crown. So we're going to start at the feet. That's a good place to start for improving your posture. So coming down to have a look at the feet, you may find that your toes are pointing out, you may find they're pointing in. You may naturally stand with your feet out like this. What I want you to do is to bring your feet in so they're hip width apart, with your toes straight forward instead of like this. Toes straight forward, heels straight back, so you have a nice line through here. And when I say hip width apart, I mean from your hip bone. So you have a nice straight line running all the way up through your legs to your hip bones. So forget about anything that you might have on the outside of your legs or on your hips. It's from your hip bones and a nice straight line down. Now, you may not have arches under your feet, or they may be inappropriate for the way you should be standing. So, to check your arches, what I need you to do is to bend your knees. Now, if you find that your knees are coming inwards, or you find your knees are going outwards, that means that your arches aren't correct. So you need to build up a bit of extra space under your arches if your knees roll in, or alternatively flatten them off a little bit if your knees go out, and work to a position where your knees will come down over your toes. Alright, now it feels a little bit strange to be standing in that position, particularly to start with. Your target is to adjust it over several months. If you go to a podiatrist, they'll kindly give you some inner soles for your shoes. You don't want to do that, okay? You don't need them. You're far better off just teaching your feet how to stand correctly, okay? So we now have the arches. You might feel like you're standing on the outside edges of your feet if you've had to build up the arches under your feet. Your knees are coming down now over your toes, coming back up. We'll talk about the lower back next. Now, if you find that you have big arch through your lower back, and it is a big problem with a lot of women in particular, okay, we want to flatten that off a little bit. It's natural to have a curve in your back. It's not natural for it to be as large as this, okay? Also makes your tummy stick out. So we're going to do what's called curling your pelvis. So when you do that, you're flattening off that arch in your back just a little, okay? Some people do have a very flat back, in which case you'd want to increase the arch a little, but only a little bit. You don't want to be doing this again, okay? We just want to get a natural movement through your lower back, so we'll do that through the stretches, but we just want a natural arch through your lower back. And of course there's your upper back to consider as well. If you're rounded, alright, we want to be able to straighten your back up again. Also, if you're bent through your neck, constricted through the back of your neck, okay, you want to be able to bring that back straight too, so you can tuck your chin in. You want your chin to be nice and level, so if you're walking around like this, we want you to tuck it back down. If you're walking around like that, we want you to lift it back up. We want your jaw nice and level. Okay. Back to the front, also want you to look at your hips. Some people because they've spent so much time standing like this, right, you can end up with one hip higher than the other. It doesn't need to be as drastic as what you just saw me do. It can just be a slight adjustment where one is higher than the other. Now some people do have one leg which is slightly longer than the other one, in which case you're not going to be able to make that adjustment to straighten up your hips. But often with hips which aren't even, it's caused like you've been carrying something heavy, so this hip comes up, and you always have the habit of carrying a heavy bag on that side. It could be something else, something to do with your work that has caused you to come out of balance. And just over time, with the exercises I teach you, you'll learn to straighten back out again. Now, if your hips are crooked, there's also a possibility your spine will be crooked. So if I turn right around, what you want to be looking for is a nice straight line through your spine. It needs to be coming straight down. And that is easier to check with someone else or with a photograph of you in or it's easier to check with a photograph, okay, but you want a nice straight line. Some people, again, if you imagine what happens to my spine as I put my hip out, I get that curve at the bottom of my spine. But for some people it'll happen high and they'll just be off, right? They'll be off to the side. Just something else to watch for. Right? Shoulders, if you're stooping through your back, you may also have your shoulders rounded forward. So we want to bring your shoulders back. You might not be able to do it straight away, but that's okay, we'll work towards that. Okay, so you want your shoulders back, you want them out nice and wide, so we don't want them all constricted. And we want them relaxed down. So you don't want your shoulders up like this, you want to bring them down, relax them down. Now if you do have poor posture in any of those areas, it's going to be hard for you to make that adjustment straight away. Awareness is a really good first step, but we need to be able to warm up the muscles, lengthen them out and get you back into balance. Now, final word on posture is your crown. So always think about, like, you've got a string attached to your crown and it's pulling you up to the ceiling or pulling you up to the sky. Okay? That's your central point, you're hanging down below that. If you do have problems with your posture, please follow the exercises in my posture exercises video, but also keep in mind the tips that I've given you as we adjust your posture. Thank you.